All right, and we're back for another episode of the Sports Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Stephen Bologna, and Stephen Clark. And we're back for the first time since midsummer way back in July for the trade deadline. It's been a long time since we've done baseball, and we're talking MLB postseason because the regular season has finally come to an end. It was a bit of a grind to watch and get through for some teams, mainly all of ours. Mainly mine is the worst, then Clark's, and then Steve's team on the last day of the regular season got into the playoffs, of course, that being the Yankees. But we're finally here to talk about the two wildcard matchups that are happening this week, the AL between the Yankees and the Red Sox. So that's a great rivalry. And then the NL on Wednesday with the Dodgers and the Cardinals. So we'll get into those two games as well as who we think our World Series matchup will be, who our World Series winner will be, and then who we think will take home MVPs in both leagues as well as the Cy Young Awards. So we'll get into that podcast. And then, as the playoffs go on, we'll do a preview pod for each round, and we'll briefly recap the following round in those podcasts. So divisional will probably be later this week as well. So these things are going to come out week by week as the rounds go on. So guys, what's going on?
When's the last time you said we did a podcast, the baseball one?
July for the trade deadline.
Yeah, so the Mets were in first place the last time we did a podcast.
Yeah.
And look where we are on October 4th right now.
Yankees were in fourth.
I know, and you guys
Orioles were in last.
Game.
How the turntables?
The Orioles were the only ones who stayed consistent and stayed where they needed to be. Hey, good news. We got the first overall pick.
Congrats. You're not going to see him for another 20 years, how the way baseball farm systems work. So
I haven't seen Adley yet.
162 games we just went through, and wow. I texted Justin yesterday, Clark, you might remember this. I forgot Jay Bruce was a Yankee at the start of this season.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
I thought that was last year. I really did.
Yeah. So 162 games, a hell of a season, came down to the wire. We saw, a team like the Mariners just come out of nowhere.
That was an awesome run.
Yeah. The Blue Jays are scary. A couple good teams in the NL, like the Reds, the Mets, holding
collapses like the Mets and Padres.
Yeah. Both teams collapsed and both managers got fired. So that's
and fun. Then surprise teams like the Giants, how somehow they did it over 162 and couldn't even do it in a 60-game season.
We thought the Giants were going to fall off. They didn't fall off. The Red Sox
record in baseball
kind of fell off a little bit, but not all the way. But
they did.
They still got the first wild card. I mean, it was a wild season. It was a wild season.
Indeed, it was. So a wild season calls for wild card games. So let's talk. Hey, I did a joke. So let's talk about the AL wildcard game, which will be Tuesday night between the New York Yankees shipping up to Boston to take on the Red Sox. We get this rivalry. It's going to be Boston. Yeah, it's a good song.
Daniel Murphy's
walk-up really good song.
That was Daniel Murphy's walk-up song. Legend.
Well, it's the age-old rivalry, Yankees, Red Sox. Not the matchup you want to see if you're a Yankees fan, just because, of course, the history. But they did play competitive against the Red Sox this whole year. And you're going to have Garrett Cole on the mound. And who's he facing for?
Nathan
Eovaldi. So good old Yankee, too. So matchup of some aces, basically, up in Beantown. So initial thoughts. How are you feeling about this game, Steve?
At the same time, as a Red Sox fan, you don't want to have this matchup either. Just a few weeks
for this game, I'm a Red Sox fan.
Of course, but
of course, come on.
2 weeks ago, the Yankees go into Boston and sweep them in 3 games. So this is definitely going to be a toss-up. Good for the Red Sox to win yesterday and get that home playoff game.
Which that could be, it could be a deciding factor, right?
It could be, yes, absolutely.
It's going to be absolute mayhem up there. These two teams in a playoffs, winner go home game. It's going to be insane.
This is what you pay Garrett Cole for. He needs
to 7 rings that he needs to get.
He needs to come out and win this game for the Yankees. The offense cannot be like how it was against the Rays. And, I'm scared. Luckily for the Yankees, Nate Eovaldi's not the best they could be facing. And this Boston bullpen is kind of wary at times. The Yankee bullpen's been locked down probably the past month. So that makes you feel pretty good. And the Red Sox, I believe I saw a source today, Kevin Plawecki may be starting behind the plate. And Jaron Duran may have to start with JD Martinez down. So the Yankees probably catching.
Well, Martinez, though, at the same time, has had a down season by his standards.
Since that first Red Sox year, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But, big name that's come through for them is, Hunter Renfroe, who's just been an absolute monster this year for Boston. And, Bobby Dahlbeck actually picked it up and put his name in at least contention for AL Rookie of the Year. Devers is still consistent. There's still a good team, but the Yankees just have the firepower, of course, which is what we thought they'd have. And, of course, somehow they're the away team in all this situation because the Red Sox did have the better regular season record. But like you said, this is where Cole needs to show up. This is what you pay him for. His last start wasn't the best. When he could have clinched a playoff spot, he caved a little bit. So, could that be the back of his mind? But we've seen him with, when he was in the postseason with the Astros, he shows up, but also at the same time, his downside could really come back to bite him because, when the first thing with Spider Attack came and cracked down, he was the major victim of where the drop off happened. But also at the same time, they're up in Boston, so it could be a little bit colder.
And it's awesome that it's Yankees Red Sox in the playoffs.
Yeah,
it's
the first game too.
Better.
It's setting the tempo for the whole postseason.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Worst case for either, just for the appeal standpoint, it's just a blowout by the third inning and one team's up by 7. And it's just there goes all the hype whatsoever.
Yeah, no. I'm expecting a big game from who has been the Yankees' second half MVP, which is Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton
he had a monster September.
Insane second half.
And
honestly.
Last year in the postseason, he went off. He was awesome last year in the postseason.
I think you're going to get a big game from him in this game too. He's a big player that shows up when the games matter. When it's a big game, he shows up. I mean, Judge is great and all, and he got that little rinky-dink hit to win the game, to get him into the playoffs.
Pat Mazika level hit.
Literally a Pat Mazika level hit, but I'm trusting Stanton. He's a big time player, big time games. He can get as much hate from the Yankee fans in the past as possible for all that stuff. But I think he did have a huge game. I think Voigt's still hurt. Voigt's out, right? Voigt's gone.
So was LeMahieu.
Is it? When did LeMahieu?
He's on the IL.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yankees are a little, and Gary
they're a little weak too. Yeah.
It's going to come down to, will Glaber hustle? Will Glaber actually hit? Will Gary actually block the pitch when it matters? Because we've seen, during the regular season, Kyle Higashioka was mainly Garrett Cole's main catcher. So it's will we see the Gary come back to bite him? But it's also at the same time, you could have Gary DH if Stan plays the outfield, and then you run Stanton in left, Gallo or in center or in right, and then Judge in either right or center. And I feel like they almost have to because you want that.
I'd rather do that.
Exactly. You would rather have that defense behind the plate because all you need is one ball for get behind Gary and a run's coming in potentially, right?
I also don't want Brett Gardner starting in the wild card game.
No, but it's also at the same time you made the moves for the killer lineup. Use them. This is the time to go all out.
Yeah, I mean, if only Rougned Odor has to start, which
Yeah, he's gonna have to.
That's a little rough. But no, on the other side of the ball too. I mean, Boston has to use their big power too. I mean, they got Schwarber there. I mean, Schwarber just kicked up a little bit. He started slow in Boston. He was hurt just when he came over to Boston. But you use your acquisitions. Use Schwarber.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're going to rely on Verdugo, Devers, Bogarts, Renfroe, everybody.
Yeah.
And one thing about this Red Sox team which scares the hell out of me, is they could be down 4-0
and they'll come back. They never give up.
You saw it in the last game. Well,
another thing is too, Sale only pitched 2 2/3. He threw 66 pitches. Now it was because maybe he gave up some runs. Could we potentially see him on short rest if they need him? Maybe.
Potentially. But at that point, I feel like they would pitch him short rest in first game of the Rays.
Yeah.
If things are going well in their favor.
Yeah, the winner of this game, I mean, it goes to
Tampa. They're going to lose.
They're going to lose. I think so too.
Yeah.
But no,
this is set up to be a classic. It really is.
It is.
We haven't seen this matchup in
the playoffs
in a single elimination game in a while. It wasn't the last time when Brock Holt hit the cycle in the postseason. Yeah. So that was 2-3 years ago at that point. So
that was 18 or 17.
The network's got to be happy about this matchup, though.
Yeah, but on ESPN too, so that's fun.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah, and National League's on TBS. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, TBS always gets the redhead stepchild game.
Yeah. They are. When it's all said and done, who's winning this game for the AL wildcard? Who's walking out of Boston and going down to Tampa Bay?
Oh man, I'll go first because you guys kind of have your biases. I mean, I do too.
What are you talking about?
My biases.
When am I biased against the Yankees?
Oh, I just think Look, Garrett on the mound. Yeah, I mean, it's in the thing that's pulling me away is that it's in Boston, and I saw what Boston did in the game 162.
Well, that's the thing.
Coming back, that's the
I
one.
feel like of all games, home field
it's huge.
Matters the most in this game, just because of how polar opposite the fan bases for either team will be towards the other team.
If I'm going with my head 100% though, I'm sticking with the Yankees to win this game. I just trust them so much. I just think they're the better team, better guy on the hill, better power bats all around. I mean, you don't have the short porch there, but I mean, you have your big right-handed bats to go over the Green Monster. So I'm going with the Yankees to win.
I think whoever scores first wins this game.
Ooh.
You know, you look at the Yankees, Shane McClanahan, Shane Baz, and Michael Wacha all made them look like the Colorado Rockies this past weekend.
Helpless. They made them look helpless. It took extra innings to get an extra runner.
I know.
For the Yankees.
But then, you know, the week before they dropped 9 on the first game against the Blue Jays. And then the series before that, they sweep the Red Sox in Boston. And that series kind of does help my conscience a little bit.
But also then you look at the season series, the Yankees have been weaker against the Red Sox.
So it's you know, again, like that's all rivalry. So
it's a one-game
such a hit or miss.
It's really what it is.
Yeah.
My vote is I think the Yankees get out to an early lead. And I think the Red Sox are going to make it so close. It's not even funny. But I think the Yankees pull it out. I do.
Yeah, my heart and brain and just every fiber of my being, if we're being quite honest, wants me to go with Boston. I really want to go with Boston. I want to see them win. I want to see the Yankees go home. I just get the Yankees as far away from a World Series trophy as fast as humanly possible. Fine by me. But Garrett Cole on the mound, you know, the moves they made, the lineup they have, just the momentum. Obviously, both teams had a great 162. They both really good games to end the season. But it's just the Yankees lineup has minimal faults. And at the end of the day, I think with Garrett Cole, I trust Aaron Judge, and just Stanton's had an awesome September. That's undeniable. He's living up to the contract a little bit more, and he's actually producing now, finally. If they run out their lineup where he's in the outfield and they can get Gary to DH, they can get Higashioka to catch, and defensively they have the best alignment possible in the field, I think they win.
I'm curious. I wonder if they put Higgy behind the plate or Urshela to third, Velasquez to short, and then DH Velasquez.
You mean that Sanchez?
Would be DH for Velasquez.
Oh, okay.
I think that'd be an interesting rollout because Rugi at third.
Is the lineup posted yet? No, I don't think it won't be posted till
probably
tomorrow.
in the morning. It's going to be one hell of a game.
It really is.
Like going to be rocking. So
it's going to be awesome. And like I said, I just hope it's not a blowout. Like I want some drama. I'd like this to come down to a 9th inning save or a 9th inning walk off at one point, just because that's what this game deserves, just because of the two teams, the matchup, and how both teams not really limped their way into playoffs, but had to pull it out at the end to get into the postseason. So this is definitely setting up to be a classic. So let's move things over to the NL, where we can actually enjoy this and not stress about it one way or the other. And that is the Cardinals, who went on an insane run to close out September, 16-game winning streak. And they have old reliable on the bump, Adam Wainwright, going up against Max Scherzer, the old man, looking for one more ring. Got there in July as well at the trade deadline. Last time we talked baseball, which is amazing. Lined himself up for potential another Cy Young, even though just playing for the Dodgers for 2 months. But on the flip side of things, the Dodgers are without Max Muncy, so that's definitely a big blow because Cody Bellinger has been lacking. So Muncy's been picking up the slack where he's been dropping off. But also the Cardinals are just the annoying team that'll never go away. They'll never suck. They just are constantly good, and they're trying to go for one last ride with Wainwright and Yachty going into next season, as both of them are signed through next year, and that'll be it. So, how are we feeling?
This game's not even going to be close.
Yeah, I don't even. There's not much to talk about. I like what the Cardinals did. I love what they did on that run. It was awesome to see that run. But you're playing the Dodgers.
They're just a bunch of vets.
The Dodgers with 106 wins in the wild card. It's
insane.
They're the best wild card team of all time.
It's as simple as that.
They literally are. Like if they were in any other division, they obviously would have won a division. Would not be playing in this wild card game right now. But I mean, I like what the Cardinals did, but I just don't think they're on that.
But it's also it's a 40-something. It's almost a 40-year-old Adam Wainwright who had a good season.
Yeah.
He had a good season
against Cy Young candidate,
but also
Scherzer.
exactly. But also recently, we've seen a lot more bad Wainwright than good Wainwright. And really, for Scherzer, since Detroit, we've seen a whole hell of a lot of good of Scherzer.
Yeah,
Scherzer is unstoppable, and this game's going to rely on Yadier Molina, Paul DeYoung, Matt Carpenter. I mean,
Harrison Bader, Tyler O'Neill.
Great outfield.
The
You have Nolan
master
Arenado. I love the Cardinals team.
Well,
The Dodgers
they just never go away, right? Like they're
Dodgers are the World
constantly
Series
good.
favorites, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So if they're in LA, I could see the Dodgers winning this one like 7-2.
But also,
8-2.
5 runs.
If Wainwright can give them just enough and keep the Cardinals in it, it could be a game where they're scrappy and win, right? Like it's going to come down. Like Wainwright has an immense amount of pressure. He's got to keep the Dodgers in line, right? So it's boy.
Could we see the Cardinals being like the 2019 Nationals? Because I feel like that's how they compare.
Just older, but yeah.
Not many. You have your superstars.
They went on a run.
Yeah,
but it's like you have Goldschmidt, who's old. You have Arenado, who's
basically
never been in the playoffs, if we're being quite honest.
Like
Bader, O'Neill, and Edman are all good players, right? But they're not really proven. But they're still very, very good this season. But also on the flip side, Max Scherzer, who's one of the best pitchers of our entire generation. He's only gotten better with age.
Yeah,
I got to go with the Dodgers, though.
Me too, Dodgers.
Like logic just says go with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I love to see the Cardinals.
I'd love to see. That'd be great. I'd love the chaos and see the Cardinals win, because then it's like, who the hell is coming out of the National League? Because at that point,
Nolan Arenado loves chaos. Like Jeff Passan.
Tweets were so funny. Like Mitch Haniger loves chaos.
But it's like, say Dodgers and Tampa Bay, World Series teams from last year, both get knocked out. It'll be mayhem then. Because it's like, who in the hell is going to the World Series?
Giants, I guess.
Could you a Cardinals Giants series gives me such 2014 vibes.
Oh my god, it does.
That'd be so, and it's still the same players from the 2014 team, basically.
Posey,
so,
Belt,
real quick,
Wainwright.
looking at the whole bracket, right, of playoff teams, what is the worst matchup? I gotta go with like Tampa Bay, Milwaukee, like the worst like marketability, like just like
it'd be bad,
like the equivalent of your what is Bucks who this year in the finals?
Bucks Suns.
Yeah, like what is the most unappealing matchup? It's gotta be like Tampa Bay.
White Sox, Braves.
No, but you got Chicago and Atlanta's. I think it's got to be.
Yeah, but Atlanta's doesn't have Acuna. It's just very.
Yeah, but they still have Albies and Freeman.
I think Milwaukee is just so much fun. They're pitching that. I mean,
they're boring. It's pitching.
Giants.
But you got the storyline with like
White Sox.
You got the storyline of all the old guys.
My pick's White Sox for the American League. I agree. White Sox is my pick for the American League.
I gotta go with Tampa just because they had no fans. and they're going up to Canada next year.
I agree with the White Sox. White Sox people only know them because they won the corn game.
I think the Brewers are the least appealing out of the NL.
Mine's Atlanta for me. Maybe just because I see Atlanta all the time. But
yeah,
I don't know.
The Brewers have a really good chance to win it, honestly.
Yeah,
especially if the
very
Dodgers
underrated.
Pitching's the most important thing.
If the Dodgers go down, they have like 3 Cy Young candidates
on
that team. But if the Dodgers go down, the Brewers, I think, are my favorite to go.
Imagine the pitching matchup between the Dodgers and the Brewers. That's just ridiculous. That's
Burns, Scherzer, and then Peralta, Bueller,
Woodruff,
and then Kershaw,
Woodruff,
or Urias.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Or Urias. Yeah. It's just a 1-0, 2-1 game. Like
he led the league in wins. Urias. So I think
he had 20. He had 20. Yeah.
So we're all with the Dodgers unanimously for the NL wildcard. So of course, then we would see a Rays Yankees and then a Dodgers Giants divisional series matchup, which would be awesome. Yeah. So the matchup, the field as a whole is Red Sox, Yankees, Rays, Chicago, White Sox, and the Astros out of the AL, and then Cardinals, Dodgers, Braves, Brewers, and then the Giants out of the NL. When it's all said and done, when we get through all the rounds, who is your World Series matchup? Not prediction. What 2 teams do you see making it to the World Series for the Fall Classic?
All right, I'll go first. I see.
Mets.
Oh yeah, Mets versus
And the
the
Orioles.
Mariners. Yeah, the Orioles. No. I see the Dodgers coming out of the National League. I see them beating St. Louis. I see them beating the Giants. I see them beating Milwaukee when it gets to that in the NLCS.
Yeah, I gotta think like this.
Giants are my pick for the National League. The American League's a little
the
rough.
Giants.
No, not Giants. Dodgers.
Dodgers. Okay.
Dodgers.
Like I was about to say, the Giants like Cinderella story. It's really nice to see Posey,
it's gonna die
Crawford,
when they
and
versus
all
the
of them.
Dodgers.
But it's like
it's done.
Oh boy, it's like they're not built for that.
American League's a little. I'm going a little bit on a limb here. I don't know why. I'm just feeling it. It's weird. Steve's not gonna like it. I'm going the Astros. They're making the World Series. I think the Astros beat out the Rays in the American League Championship
I feel like they still have the chip on their shoulder.
I think so too.
From the whole cheating thing.
Even though it, they won the division, it should be past everyone by now. But whatever. I think it's the Dodgers Astros World Series.
Is that a rematch? That's not a rematch, right? That is a rematch, right?
That's
yeah, that's who the Astros beat.
Are we picking who comes out on top or not yet?
Not yet. We'll get there.
Okay, so Dodgers Astros.
Whenever I hear the Astros in the playoffs, I think of Dwight Schrute. I state my regret. Thank you. Listen, I'll go NL first, and Dodgers for me. I think it's pretty obvious. Don't sleep on the Giants taking that series to 5. I think that could be very interesting. And in the AL, I don't see why the Yankees can't make a run. I really don't. It's all going to come down to Tampa, and
I really think so. Whoever wins the Tampa,
if the Yankees get booted by the Astros again,
that would have to be an ALCS matchup.
That's a killer.
Yeah,
that'd be.
It would hurt, but the Astros they've gotten progressively worse each year.
They're still good.
I mean, they're still good.
Well, it's because their starting rotation is falling apart.
Which is why I think I can give the Yankees an edge. I am going to go with Tampa Bay in the AL. I think it's a rematch of last year. Tampa Bay, they just have these scrappy guys that can hit. I don't get it, but it works.
They're perfect at Moneyball. Like Shane Bass, Shane McClanahan, Michael Wacha. They had Glass out, but he's hurt. But it's just like, who the hell are these people from the scrap heap? But they work and they win. Like last year, Randy Rosarena turned into Babe Ruth in the playoffs. But it's like Wander Franco has like a 1 billion game on base streak.
I'll say this: I don't want that matchup. I want to see something different.
No, so would I. I really do too.
We saw Cavs Warriors 4 years in a row, and after year 2, it's like, all right, this is annoying.
Well, that's like Clemson, Alabama as well. It's just like, can we even the Patriots as well? Like in the Super Bowl, it's like, can we get someone else, please? And that's like get Tom Brady with the fucking Buccaneers. So it's like, it'll just never go away.
Tampa Bay.
I really think whoever wins the wild card matchup who goes on to play Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay comes out of the AL. It's just they are built for it. They have so many interchangeable pieces and players that if one part falls apart, basically they can replace them on the fly and not miss a step. Basically, their pitching staff, I don't know how it works. They have basically 3 to 4 closers out of the bullpen who would be a closer on most teams. Kittredge, obviously you don't have Nick Anderson for the season, but it's just like, okay, it works. I don't know how it works. I really think Tampa Bay, though, still comes out of it. White Sox, they're, of course, probably the fun, sexy pick to watch, but at the same time, they're young and inexperienced, so who knows how well that goes. And Houston, they don't have the rotation they did with, Verlander, McCullers, Cole even, Greinke. So it's just like, I really don't trust that over a 7-game series if it was the World Series or divisional round or championship series. And then out of the NL, I really don't want. I'm with Steve. I think we're going to get another rematch of Tampa Bay and the Dodgers. I don't want it. I'd love to see the Brewers and Tampa, just because 2 teams that are just under the radar on a.
Just call them the most boring team. Now I know them,
but I would love to see it because it's 2 teams you don't think about. It's something different, and it's 2 franchises that could use a World Series to actually get notoriety.
Who would you say?
Milwaukee. I would love to see, but I don't think so. I think we see Dodgers Rays again.
And, just looking at it, a team I think we're kind of overlooking here a bit is Atlanta. I mean, obviously without Acuna, but...
Yeah, but they rebuilt Acuna. Like, it's the Moneyball meme. It's like, we can't replace Giambi, but we can rebuild him. And they get like 3 different players.
Peterson and Duvall. And
they're
basically all...
Escobar, right, was the other one?
Soler.
Yeah.
And they got Eddie Rosario, Albie Freeman, Riley Swanson. Looking at their pitching, I mean,
they have a solid team.
Morton 14-6, Max Fried
but
14-7, Ian Anderson.
If they had Acuna, I think we'd be talking different about them.
I think so too.
Yeah. But that could be a team to make the CS, honestly. And
I think so too.
Probably push the Dodgers a little bit.
That'll come down on the Brewers. Like, I think who could give the Brewers the biggest run for their money would be Milwaukee, just because of their pitching, that they would be able to keep them in games. And maybe if Yelich actually woke up and started doing something, he could get them to the next level. But same thing with Bellinger. It's like they don't have Bellinger for the Dodgers because he's been abysmal this season.
That's an ugly stadium, the Brewers Stadium.
Yeah, Warren went there for a business trip. He was like watching, like, underneath is like a bridge type. Like, it just looks ugly.
Ew.
And how do you have the Brewers not in Miller Park anymore? Like, it's not Miller time anymore out there. So that sucks.
It's not Miller time.
The mascot doesn't slide down and hit the home run.
No, they still have that. The sausages. Yeah.
Oh, Justin loves the sausages.
Did you see Bob Uecker, who's just hilarious on commentary? They had Bob Uecker Day on the last home game. They had him throw out the first pitch. He unveiled a pitching machine and put the ball in. But I think we're gonna have a Dodgers Rays rematch. So
I don't want to see that. I really don't.
I don't either.
I don't either. I really don't. But I think it's what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
So to recap, Steve and I both had the same matchup: Dodgers, Rays, and Bologna. Not Bologna. Clark, who'd you have?
I had Dodgers and Astros.
So, who do you guys think at the end of the World Series, when it's November, is standing up on top, holding the Commissioner's Trophy, which is just a piece of metal, as we all know? So, do the Dodgers repeat? Do we see a new champion? Do we see a franchise get their first World Series win?
Dodgers repeat. Dodgers repeat. Plain and simple, I think. Are we doing World Series MVP?
Yeah, if you want.
We're doing World Series MVP. Give me the man who I think has the highest batting average in the National League this year. He's been on a roll ever since he got traded over to the Dodgers. I'm going Trey Turner. I think Trey Turner walks out as World Series MVP, and the Dodgers they get it done, plain and simple.
Bologna.
Same as Clark. Dodgers. I don't see why they don't win. And can you imagine the contract Trey Turner will get if he wins the World Series MVP this year? And
they still have him under control for 1 year, but they'll have to extend him because you got to assume they'll let Seager kind of just go at that point.
Someone we're forgetting about here is they have Mookie Betts.
That future Hall of Famer.
We literally haven't said his name all podcast.
No, and the future Hall of Famer just chilling there too.
He'll be my vote for that World Series experience might come in handy for him, and that'll be
one of the best postseason players we've seen. He shows up.
That'll be my MVP prediction.
So last year I picked Tampa Bay, and I took Austin Meadows to be World Series MVP, and it went horribly wrong. So they say try and try again. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay winning the World Series. I think they're a scrappy team. They got the experience that they needed to face the Dodgers last year. They came close, fell short, and I think they walk away with it. They have a little better pitching, if we're being honest, even though Blake Snell's gone. But I think what they have there works for what they want to do is just manage innings and just put in as many, whoever is the best pitcher for the situation, put him in regardless of the inning or, situation on the base pads. And I think Wander Franco wins World Series MVP.
Wow. That'd be awesome.
That would be cool. Rookie year. Yep.
So that's our prediction. So we'll visit that when the World Series is done. Who got it right? Who got it horribly wrong? If you're a betting man, bet on me for getting it completely wrong. So before we wrap up, we have some awards to talk about real quick because it's been a hot topic that we haven't talked about at all. And that is the AL and NL MVP race and the AL and NL Cy Young race. So both are extremely tough to talk about because they're pretty close. So let's start with the AL MVP. Your two front runners are, of course, Shohei Ohtani, the two-way superstar, and Vlad Guerrero, who, for the most part, flirted with a triple crown, but fell short on a few categories as well.
It was close until, he didn't get the triple crown. I mean, outstanding season, tied with Salvi for most home runs, which is crazy. I think Salvador Perez, a catcher, had almost 50 home runs as well. I'd even throw him in the conversation for MVP too.
Salvi led the league in RBIs.
That too. I mean, there's a case right there, but it could be a once in a lifetime thing seeing Ohtani. You don't know if he's going to do it to this extent ever again, pitching very pretty decent, but also hitting like a monster. My easy MVP pick is Ohtani for me.
Yeah, pretty obvious for me here. It does hurt that they're a pretty mediocre team, but he did keep them relevant for the entire season, and to be able to pitch like the way he did was pretty remarkable. So great year by Vlad, but you got to give this one to Ohtani.
2 generational talents on that team, 2 of maybe the greatest ever on the Angels. You never know, with definitely Trout and potentially Ohtani. So that sucks. You're right.
If Vlad won the Triple Crown,
it's closer.
Or if Vlad got the Blue Jays into the playoffs, I think you'd have to lean more towards Vlad. But Clark, like you said, it's a once in a lifetime thing. We haven't seen, no one's seen it. No one alive has seen a player do this, because everyone who's basically watched Babe Ruth is long and dead. So at that point, you got to go with Ohtani. She's probably dead too. I don't know.
Still alive.
Is she? That's cool.
Hope she sees this, Justin.
NL MVP. Little more.
This is tough.
You had Tatis, who was awesome, but kind of
then they just fell off.
The Padres self-imploded. But I think a sneaky candidate. I gotta go with Juan Soto.
I was going to say the exact same thing. They didn't make the playoffs though too, but obviously they were depleted. I would have said Harper if he would have pushed the Phillies to the playoffs. I feel like, except for the case of Ohtani, and for the most part, anyone, Salvi or Vlad, none of those teams made the playoffs. But I like having your MVP coming from a playoff team. I'm gonna go Soto as well, just because he honestly had one of the better Septembers that honestly anyone in like baseball history almost. I want to say Harper just because Harper also had a good season.
He made a case for it towards the end. From August to September, he was awesome.
I'm going to go Soto as well. I'm sticking with you with Soto.
Bologna?
I'm going Bryce, and I'm so happy to say this. I really hope he wins it. He's one of my favorite players. Phillies were in it. They were in it at the end, and we're talking a team that almost made the playoffs. The Phillies were the closest. So 309 average, 35 homers, 184 RBIs. He led the league in OPS. Just he made Philly relevant, and just an electric player. Soto, he had a good September. I'll give him that. Harper, I think, was consistent for most of August and most of September. So it's a crapshoot, especially because Tatis is the namesake and everyone loves him, but Tatis, he messes around too much. And we obviously saw the video of Machado saying this isn't all about you. And that there's probably some turmoil going on there in San Diego, and that's why the collapse happened. But
yeah,
I'm hoping Harper takes this.
So real quick before we wrap up AL and NL Cy Young, let's talk about the NL Cy Young, because we started with the AL for the MVP. So NL Cy Young, I really think you got to go with Corbin Burns out of Milwaukee.
That's fair.
It's either him or Scherzer.
I think Scherzer had a rough end of the season. I think that's what's going to kill him. I really do. Wheeler had a good season as well, but not as good as the others. If Scherzer would have finished a little stronger, he did great. I know once he got traded and all that, but his last couple of starts, which they might look at, were a little rough. I'm going Corbin Burns too. Yeah.
So to wrap things up before we wrap up this podcast, AL Cy Young. Bologna, what do you think?
I think Garrett Cole. Ray had a good year, 13-7, 2.84 ERA. This is a very analytical game, and I see on Twitter that if you look at
analytics,
yeah,
only when it works for you.
If you look at all of the analytics, the only statistics that Ray leads Cole in is record and ERA, and record clearly doesn't matter when DeGrom won it, and ERA is good, but they're not that far apart from each other.
Bologna believes in ERA, and now the fact that it goes towards the Yankees, fuck it, it doesn't matter.
No, I'm saying Ray holds the advantage.
Yeah,
it's not that major of an advantage, but again, the writers probably look at a multitude of things. Garrett Cole, he had the 9-inning shutout earlier in the season against the Astros, and one hitter that is. And Ray, they both kind of got roughed up towards the end.
They both had bad starts at times, right?
So this is a crapshoot. But again,
I think at
this
the same
is a popularity
time,
vote.
It could go either way. Both had awesome seasons. Both you would love to have on your team. Of course you do. So lucky you. But I think because Garrett Cole and the Yankees got into the postseason should be also a contributing factor. So Cole gets the Cy Young. He was sort of snubbed out of when it was him and Verlander down in Houston.
Oh yeah.
I think they're to pull a little trickaroo here. They're there to see what he does. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna. They're to see what he does.
Matter.
It's not going to matter, but they're going to see what he does in this wild card game. It's good. They're very even, like you said. These guys are very even with Ray and Cole. If Cole blows it completely in this wild card game, I feel like they are going to give the advantage to Ray. But if Cole puts up 6 scoreless innings or so, or 5 scoreless innings, and just dominates with like 10 strikeouts or something, I think Cole gets it. But if I had to pick right now, I'll give it to Cole just because of the playoff win. I'll give it up for the playoff
appearance
entry.
Cool.
I'll give it to Cole for that.
So that's our wild card preview podcast, who we think is going to win the World Series, and our awards winners. So we'll cover baseball as it comes and goes now through the divisional round. So that'll happen later in the week. And then make sure to keep up with our NFL podcasts and the NBA ones. And Steve might be cooking up an NHL one as well.
Oh, so, baby.
Clark, when those all come out, where can people listen?
Yeah, listen, watch on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Follow us on our social medias on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at SportsDepthPod. That's Sports DEPT Pod. Justin said it best. He said all the new stuff that's coming out. I have nothing to add to that. So stay tuned to all this fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next episode.